Welcome to a special edition of Your Image, your public relations program on TV. Today, we are celebrating a life well spent. We are celebrating a colossus, a PR juggernaut, a veteran journalist, and a man of several, or even multifaceted scope. That's talking about His Royal Highness OBA OLUFEMI Ogunleye, Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. With me to really dissect on this colossus are Mr. Demola Oladosu.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure to be part of this discussion during which we are going to paint the portrait of an image maker, an icon in image making, a veteran journalist, a supreme man of culture and traditional ruler.
Demola Oladosu is a veteran broadcaster and journalist. He's a man who has been so deep in this trade of communication. You are welcome, sir.
Thanks so much.
I also have Kunle Somorin. Kunle Somorin is also a product of His Highness. A man has been so close, culturally, professionally, talking about journalism, and in so many spheres. Most so when we want to talk about public relations. Kunle Somorin, you're welcome.
Good evening, viewers. Good evening, everybody. Well, it's a celebration of life, like you have said. For me, the loss of OBA Ogunleye is more than just losing an individual. A library just got burnt down. Because in public relations, in journalism, in law scholarship, and traditional rulership, OBA Ogunleye touched so many parts.
Kunle Somorin is also a veteran journalist, a former chief press secretary to the Ogun State government, and also a PR practitioner. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I also have Femi Dokunmu, the past chairman of the NIPR Ogun State chapter, a consummate marketing communication specialist. Femi, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. I want to give God all the glory that the OBA, who touched the lives of so many people, those of us who are here, are some of his legacies. And that is what we are happy for. We have survived him.
Well, you had your tutelage with Kabisi, reflecting. What would you like to share with us?
Yes, well, thank you very much. I had my tutelage with him. I cut my teeth, so to say, in journalism and public relations with him at Fmr.ogun and the Village News, talking about the 1980s, 1988 precisely. And I really just had a passion for journalism, for writing. And I had a lot of paper cuttings, which immediately after my NYSC program, I just came to Abeokuta and saw the Village News office. And I went there, met Dr. Additional and some other people. And I got the job immediately there. I haven't met Kabesi then until when I got to Lagos. And what he did was to now say, look, you can write very well. I love the story that you have done. Almost doesn't need any rewrite. And therefore, I want to suggest that you now need to go for a formal training in journalism. And that was how he sent me to Dokunmu with a note. Dokunmu then was the provost of the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, OBA, Ikeja. And that was how I found myself in the profession, the learning from somebody I can call a giant in journalism and public relations. So I'm very grateful And if I have become anything today in those three professions, let me put it that way, it is certainly because I was planted, I was nurtured, and I was watered and then given a lot of tutelage, advice, and mentoring by Femi Ogunleye.
Yeah, what a reflection. Well, I don't have to turn to Kunle Somorin. I had you reading his book and which touched on his early life. What did you put together talking about his early life?
I actually reviewed that book when it was published. And going through Oba Ogunleye's early life, we discovered that so many things had changed between when he was born and now. Because Oba Ogunleye happened to be a child of circumstances. You know.
What do you mean?
Well, before him were 9 other children by his parents. All of them died at infancy.
Wow.
Then the 10th came, and Olufemi had been born before he came. And they used to tease him as an Abiku. But he would just tell the parents that no, the other Femi was not me, or me, I have come to live. Even with shackles round his feet, Oba Ogunleye still insisted that he will live. 3 others were born after him. The other 3 died. So for somebody like that, he was given special nurturing by the parents. So much so that the mother didn't want him to die and would not want him to go to school, so that she can at least have somebody to survive her. But thank God, Oba Ogunleye, according to the definition of the family then, had been promised a fulfilled life, even from day one. In his Akosejaye, they saw that he would go to places that nobody in his lineage had gone through before. And almost 80 years down the line, we have seen what he has been able to do. He left Abeokuta, went to Jos, went to Kano, went everywhere around the globe as a reporter, as a public relations man, as a public figure and public intellectual. So much so that those of us who are not even around there could relate with his experiences, and we learn 1 or 2 things that actually gave our life some meaning. That is the kind of person that Oba Ogunleye was. He started lowly, he started almost lonely, but he ended with everybody around him.
What a story. That's an extract from his early life. I want to relate with Demola Oladosu. You are a veteran journalist, and I also listen to you relating your experience. How will you describe Oba Ogunleye as a journalist?
You see, he was a man, a giant in journalism. I saw him as somebody who encouraged a lot of us into journalism. Not even before I met him. I've been reading about him. I've been reading his write-ups, his columns in newspapers. And when we take a look at the period he was in active journalism, we take a look at his colleagues then. Today we all talk about you must be a graduate, you must have masters, you must have PhD and so on. But when you look at the likes of Peter Enoro, you look at the likes of Chivolution Gonshoba, you look at like of Oba Femi Ogunleye, and quite a number of them, not until when the first set of graduates, Demola and others, came into journalism. And if you listen to him talking about his life history and how he endeared himself to his bosses in journalism, you know he had the experience of having been opportune to be a typist, a stenographer. So when he writes, he just going to give them that ready copy, not this handwritten one that they will be struggling to read. And that endeared him to his bosses. And he said he was a very good investigative journalist. And you could see that in his attitude, in his reports, and of course, even in his life. And in the 80s, when I saw Village News, I said, is this man serious? Village news, who is going to buy this village? But he had a mission, because by then, Concord was also into grassroots journalism. And I will tell you that this man had keen interest in the grassroots. And so it's not just such a surprise when he was made the Oba of Akinale. Akinale, he projected Akinale to the whole world. Before he became the Oba, we used to refer to Akinale village, and maybe that's why he named his paper Village News. And through the Village News, when he became the Oba, he projected that community. Not only that community, look at his role, using his experience as a journalist. You know, journalists are vibrant individuals. No matter the age, no matter what, even when you are falling ill, you still want to go ahead and pursue it, because it's a mission. And he gave all it takes for that missionary approach to journalism. And when he was, maybe I could go a little bit into when he was at Nigerian Airways, I think he was in the front line of public relations in this country. And his role at the Nigerian Airways, I would describe as iconic. Because Nigerian Airways was Nigerian Airways then, because of the good image projected by the late Oba. When you hear Femi Ogunleye is Nigerian Airways, and Femi Ogunleye became a household name, that when you hardly will hear somebody else answering to the name Femi Ogunleye, Femi Ogunleye. The first time I met him, I was surprised that this was the man I've been hearing his name. Because when you hear him, when you look at his performances, you want to see him as a giant. When I saw him, and he's a man who is so amiable, you cannot but relate with Oba Ogunleye with great intimacy. So he, like my colleague said, is a man whose life experience could be described as enigmatic, whose life experience could be described as a model for people who are coming behind. Look at the humble beginning, from grass to grace. Look at the height. Even in old age, he was still pursuing that intellectual and academic efforts, culminating in his bagging a PhD degree. Today, a number of us will say, what is it, what is it? But he is a man who I would describe as being dogged, resolute in achieving what he wants. But maybe we won't go back to what my colleague has said, the divination. You see, the aura surrounding his birth and his life history, it's like God has said, that promised land, I will take you to the promised land. And thank God that he got to the promised land. He lived a life that was fulfilled, not only fulfilled, a life that not so many people will forget in a hurry. He has left his footprint golden in the sand of time.
Thank you very much. That was very robust contribution. Femi, well, a lot has been said about his early life, and we have also heard about his escapades in journalism and public relations with the airways, with the Nigerian Airways. Let's look at Oba Ogunleye and the NIPR. What do you have to say?
Well, again, we just have to simply give it to him. Not only was he a professional, or a public relations professional, and of course an iconic one for that matter, he went beyond just taking public relations as a profession or as a vocation. The culture, he took it as a way of life. He took public relations as a culture, a way of life. You know, from what we have been saying, people, no matter who meets him, you will just find him amiable, lovable, humble, affable. And that was what kept on going for him while he was in the Nigerian Airways. And he rose from, maybe let me say, public relations officer to become the head of that department as a general manager. He retired as a general manager in the year 2000 or so.
Corporate affairs manager.
Corporate affairs manager. And you will discover that people who take public relations or their profession beyond just people saying, yes, he's just a professional, to living all the ethics, living every aspect of that profession, that is Oba Femi Ogunleye for you. He was PR personified, and he rose up also to become a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, teaching many of us how the rudiments of public relations, how it is practiced. And today, if I eventually became an important person, so to say, or professional, not only in Ogun State, but even at the national level, it is because of that tutelage which I had. And that is what has also kept me going too. I have taken public relations as a way of life beyond the profession. And so you discover that all this he took into everything he was doing. You talk about his relationship with the grassroots. You talk about his relationship even when he became an Oba with the people. You talk about his relationship with other Obas, his colleague Obas. And so it was not difficult for him, for instance, to move public relations and the Obaship of Akinale from balletship. You know, because at the initial stage it was a ballet. He was able to project himself in such a way that he was promoted an Oba. And from an Oba, he also became a member of the Ogun State Council of Obas. And the niche which he charged for himself there will take a long time for any other Oba, as it were, with such passion to also give us that.
Before you leave the issue of public relations, you remember he has been a great support, a pillar of support to the Ogun State NIPR. And when you also foray into how he has also supported us during the Nigeria Public Relations Week that was recently held in Abeokuta,
state anniversary,
the first of its kind. Look at the role, how he was able to galvanize the traditional rulers. Look at how pragmatic he was. You want to say one or two things to also corroborate how easily going, how understandable the man was.
Yes, let me just quickly say that, you know, because when I was chairman of the NIPR in Ogun State, I kept on going to him to invite him to our programs. And since then, you know, he has been attending all our programs, even programs held in the night, against some of the cultural beliefs that Obas should not be going around in the night and so on and so forth. He was always around. Most of our programs had him as Royal Father of the Day, or as a veteran, as a fellow of the NIPR. He will not only be physically present, he will also contribute both morally and financially. And that was all that he did. Even when he was during the PR week, you discover that he was also almost looking frail. At that point in time, there were signs that he was having some challenges physically, yet the love and the passion for public relations will not make him sit at the palace. He came to those programs. And so that is the kind of thing that we have, and that is the kind of man we are celebrating.
Thank you very much, Femi. Somorin.
Yeah.
Thank God you were with the Ogun State government. The relationship of Oba Ogunleye as a traditional ruler and the state government, what impact?
Well, you are talking about Oba Ogunleye. The way he connects so seamlessly is what really intrigues me. How? If you see Oba Ogunleye, or if you saw him, God bless his soul. The way he related with the young people, with the children, is the same way we relate with the nobility and even with the ruling class. And he was somebody who spoke truth to power. As a public relations person, he was not the garrulous type that spoke to the gallery. This was somebody who, each time he called me, it would be to point me to what should be done or how it should be done. And I know that he wrote countless, interventions to the governor to point him in the right direction. Even at his council, he was known as a voice of reason. He will talk to people in the way they will understand. This is because of Ogunleye that you will see as an Oba will be the same person you will see with the so-called dregs of the arts. They will speak to the drug addict the way we speak with university students, because he never stopped to learn. In fact, he inspired me to go back to school. When I was almost leaving office, he was the one who urged me not to see age as an hindrance. Yeah. Because if at 78 he was pursuing a PhD, he felt nothing stops somebody in his late 50s from doing same. And I took up the challenge, and I thank God for where the prompting had left me. Oba Ogunleye, among his peers, I would say, I can even call him a peerless Oba. Somebody who started as a ballet in 2004. By 2006, he had already become an Oba. And a first-class Oba. He left this world as a first-class Oba in Nigeria. If you talk about Oba Ogunleye with the Nigerian Airways, it's the same reflection I have of Chivales Akinale when you talk about custom. They left one huge gap that none of the people who succeeded in, even in this so-called information super highway age, could match.
This is still your image with Akin Okudero. The life and times of His Royal Highness Oba Olufemi Ogunleye has been a remarkable one, a landmark achievement, a noble contribution of no mean stature. This is where we're going to stop today. We will, in the next edition, look into his life as a lawyer. We will look into his life and contributions in respect of human traffic ambassador. We will look into his life playing the role and engendering peace among inhabitants within Owu Kingdom. And we also fall into the area of mediation. We can't but continue to say, God bless His Royal Highness Oba Ogunleye. He may have departed, but his endeavors, his landmark achievements, and remarkable feats will tell for a very long years. In fact, such a man cannot die. Adieu, His Highness Oba Ogunleye. On the next week, when you join us to continue this edition, the new edition, please, we appreciate your being there, and we will continue to count on your support. Thank you so much for being there with us. Join us next week on Your Image with Akin Okudero. Bye.